Hello everybody, in this tutorial video we're going to be taking a look at the surprisingly easy process of taking this 2D die line of a package design and translating that into a full 3D model with all of your designs on it, ready to be rendered out for internal review, marketing purposes, whatever the heck you want. So whether you are a package designer or just a person who's seen a box in your life, you're going to want to stick around for this one. So let's get right into it. To get started, let's just take a look at where I started this project. So this is something I downloaded from Adobe stock. This is very familiar to you package designers out there. We've got the die line on the left-hand side, just a very simple showing all the cuts and creases of the package. On the right-hand side, we've got the actual design, so all of our graphic elements. And in the middle, this is traditionally what you would see from package designers, kind of a 2D mock-up either in Photoshop or Illustrator or some similar software that kind of gives you like a rough idea of what the package design is going to look like. So this is all I'm going to start with to build out what I'm going to do, and I'm going to try and take what's on the left and what's on the right to make a better looking version of what's in the middle. So to begin with, the first thing that you have to do is you have to take the die line and you have to break it out as its own Illustrator file. So what I did was I had it in here, and this is going to be very important for the next step. The next step is going to be taking it into an Adobe software called Fantastic Fold, which I'll get into in just a second. But in order for Fantastic Fold to be able to convert this into a 3D model, there's a couple of very simple things that have to take place. The first of which is that you need to create two different layer groups. You need to create creases and cuts. I'm just going to expand this out so you can see the full word. Creases and cuts. And inside the creases are all of the lines that you're going to want for the folds to take place. The cuts is the outer perimeter where you're actually going to want the box to be cut out. Now, I changed the colors just so you can see the difference between the two, but a couple of major components that you're going to want is you'll see in a lot of package designs that the die lines will have dash lines here. You're going to want to make all your lines solid, and then you're also going to want to make sure that they all touch, that there's always like these corners overlap a little bit. And you'll see that in just a second in Fantastic Fold, but just to get out of that a little bit. So this is basically where I started. I also had a separate file with just the color information, and I'm just going to be able to take what we have here and bring it into Fantastic Fold, which is going to be our next step. All right, so here we are in Fantastic Fold. If you have never heard of Fantastic Fold before, do not worry. You are not in the minority. Fantastic Fold is a unique thing at Adobe. So from what I've heard, this was an individual research project from an intern who turned it into a website, and you can find it at fantasticfold.com. And as long as you're logged into your Adobe account, you should be able to access what we're looking at here. So Fantastic Fold is not an official Adobe product. Again, this was just a research project that turned it into this website that some people in the industry started using, and it's really proving to be a beneficial, super awesome tool. I want to give a shout out to one of my coworkers, an amazing guy named Luis Alcala. Luis was the one who showed me how to use this software and really get a good understanding. So I just want to give him a quick shout out there. But let's get into it. So the first thing you're going to want to see is if you need more information on how to do this, you can look at the tutorial link over here. But it's basically simple 1, 2, 3, 4. Prep your artwork, import it in Fantastic Fold, fold your die lines, and export. Easy peasy. So let's do the first step. Let's get our file from Illustrator into Fantastic Fold. So in order to do that, you need to export out of Adobe Illustrator as an SVG file type. And now when I load this in, what it's going to do is it's literally looking again for creases and cuts. And you'll see it over here to the side. It's going to say no problems found. Awesome. That's what we want. We want no problems, right? It'll give you a couple different versions depending. So I just want to make sure I have the one selected that has both the creases, the cuts, and the gray panels done. And that's all you have to do. And now you just click Import Die Line. All right, so we have our SVG imported in here. It is now starting to shape up to be a 3D package. I just want to go over some quick navigation things around here. So up on the left-hand side, you're going to see that we're in our Creases tool. This is awesome. This is going to allow us to fold our box along the creases that we have identified in the SVG file. You've also got this plastic mode, so if there's any holes in your package that you want to fill with like a window or a plastic film, you can do that. The next two are navigations. So you can click this to orbit around the space, or this one, and then left mouse button to zoom in and out. If you would rather, you can stay selected on one of these other tools and then use the right mouse button to navigate around and the middle mouse button to zoom in and out. It will, depending on what you have selected, it'll focus on that area on the screen. On the right-hand side, we've got different package properties. You can add some default materials on here. You can add your own exterior art. And then this great one here, this is the one that I use all the time, is the creases properties, which you can set numerically in here as well. So I'm just going to take this down to 0 to get us back to where we started. And the one thing that I generally do right out of the gate is just to see if it works, is I will just select everything, go into this creases property and just type 90, and boom, it just boxes it all up there for us. Amazing, right? Now you can see that some of the tabs, because if you can imagine folding your box at perfect 90-degree angles everywhere, there's going to be like, they're going to interpenetrate each other. So one thing to be aware of whenever I do this is I take the inner tabs and I just kind of like fold them down a little bit more, just to kind of get them out of the way, which I guess would happen in real package design, right? Like you would expect some things to be folded in a little bit more, but yeah, just something to be aware of there. Now, the other component to this is that if I wanted to, I could go back. Let me just go ahead and put these all back to 0 for a second. What you can do is you can also, if you're like showing this off to coworkers or whatever, you can take these and I can just fold this one at 90 degrees and then say add keyframe here. I can then take this one, again, another 90 degrees, say add keyframe there. Again, 90, add keyframe there. All right, cool. And now when you play these back, you can see that you can set up a little animation for how this thing folds to kind of demonstrate that to, like I said, your coworkers and whomever. Now, once you have this all packaged up and you have everything the way that you want, the next step would be to just simply click this export 3D model. And that's it. That's how you create a 3D model from that package design. Amazing, right? So this is going to download, when you click this, you'll see it's going to download a GLB file. GLB is a non-software specific 3D file, which you can then directly take into a software like Substance Stager or any other 3D application for the most part. And just to demonstrate that, I'm going to bring the box that we just created into Substance Stager. So again, it's on its side, so no big deal there. We just need to go into the Transform tab and just rotate it around and then click the little Move to Ground button. And there we go. And now we can start adding in our labels and doing all that. However, there is one janky part about this process, and that is when you export your box, sometimes it doesn't export something called the UVs in a very friendly way. So let me go ahead and jump into that for just a second. And for that, I'm going to need to open another software, and you can use Blender. In this case, I'm going to use Maya, but you can use any other 3D application that you can be familiar with. Okay, so here we are inside of Maya. Now I've got the old box and what we're going for. Now on the surface, they look exactly the same, right? They're 100% the same, but the difference is what's happening under the surface. Now, the great thing about Fantastic Fold is it lays out the underlying structure of our 3D model in the exact same way that it does with the packaging, right? So you see that it's got the exact same dieline shape, which is going to be perfect for us when we apply our label. The only problem is that it doesn't always do it in a way that's 3D friendly, meaning that it kind of throws these on there, but what you want is two things. One, you don't want these things overlapping, and two, where right now it's taking up this whole graph, for 3D to work well, it needs to exist only in this one square. So it's not a big deal. Like, you actually can use exactly what's here, just select the components and then just scale them down. Again, you don't necessarily need to use Maya for this. If you want a free software, the Blender's a great option for you, and you can do that. Because ultimately what you want is this. You want everything laid out flat, not overlapping, and in a way that we can easily bring in our dieline color and everything. Not dieline color, the labels and everything that we were building out there. So it just takes a little bit of finicky goodness, but basically it's just a matter of scaling them down. If you've never used a 3D software before, don't worry. You can watch a tutorial and have this learned in about a day. And then what you want to do is just take this and you're going to export your new model with all of the glorious new UVs set up, and then you are ready to go. So here we are back in Stager. Just to demonstrate this one more time, what you're going to see on the right-hand side is our box without those UVs fixed, and on the left-hand side is with it fixed. So on the right-hand side, I'm going to select the box, go into materials, and just scroll down to base color. From there, I'm just going to drag and drop my color onto the package. Now, you can see that's not great, right? It's super tiled all over the place. Totally, but that's totally fine. Again, that was what was expected. Instead, we're going to go into our updated version, drag and drop that in, bang, just pops right on, right? So if it doesn't pop on perfectly after your UVs, just make sure that those are lining up correctly. Maybe open it in Photoshop or back in Illustrator and just make sure everything's lining up. But the proportions, the scale, everything should be perfect based on what you made in Illustrator. So if you ever see anything ugly like this when you're first coming out, it just means you need to fix those UVs. All right, cool. Well, you know, that's it. We're done, right? We got this box. It's looking great. I can take it into Stager here. I can do a couple things with it. You know, I can take it, and then if I need to render on an animation, I can go to the animation tab, just click spin, click, you know, play, and it renders out. It does everything on a 360 turntable. If I want to just like have something nice and simple, I can put down some planes, expand this out. If you want to learn more about Stager, I have an entire Stager course on YouTube that you can check out. I'll put the link down below in the descriptions. But yes, for me, if I just wanted to lay out this, you know, like very simple package design setup, you know, I'll throw some walls around here. I will take off the snapping because that's being on. Let's see. Oh wait, I had the wrong one selected there. There we go. Move this down this way, great. And then for the package itself, you know, maybe throw it on a little cylinder here in the middle. There we go. Grab the box, place it on top, rotate it around. Amazing. Now I can go in here and I'll make a camera, make a nice little square aspect ratio. And again, if this feels like it's going too fast, oh, not 8,000. Just definitely check out the Stager tutorial that I put together on YouTube here. So let's go ahead and we'll turn that on. Amazing. Let me just shift the lights around. Maybe add a little depth of field. Activating that, clicking set the focal point, clicking on our object, adjusting the depth of field, and just like that, we have a lovely package render. It's not quite in the middle of that cylinder. That's going to drive me crazy. Just scoot that back a little bit. There we go. All right, great. Now we can take that. Again, I can click this. I could either render a turntable. I can render out just a still image if I want to take off I don't think I can check the animation on this. So yeah, I want to take that off. Go into the render view, render it out as a Photoshop file, and away we go. And that is the quickest and easiest way. Now let's take it a step deeper, because we can actually do a couple things inside of Substance Painter, and I will show you that in just a second. All right, so here we are inside of Substance Painter. Again, if you've never worked inside of Substance 3D Painter before and you were curious about it, I have an entire course, but this is just meant to show the capabilities of it at this point. So we've got our box, awesome. And if I wanted to do exactly what I did previously, it's super easy. I can click this little paint bucket, which would create a new layer. I've already clicked this little plus button to import our various label designs. So I can go ahead and just look for labels, go in here. I've got them right here. And all I would need to do is just drag and drop this onto the base color. Because again, the UVs, the 2D view of this is already laid out exactly right. So I can just pop that on there. So if I want, what I can do is I can go and back into Photoshop and make a couple different varieties of these labels. And then I can easily just swap them out at any point. Like if I wanted to do a slightly different one based on my original design, you can still work in the 2D tools that you're comfortable with and then bring those into the 3D space. Now, what's the next level of this, right? So like, let's say you're used to doing this and you got your stuff. Let's say you actually wanted to design it 3D and use that for your package design. You can certainly do that, or you can do some other visualization stuff. So for me, like if I really want to see how this is going to look, what I did was I came in here, and I'll step through this pretty quick for the sake of time. All right, so what I've already done is I've already created a box. I will show you the finished product, and then I'll show you the step-by-step. So the first thing I do is I just want to add a little cardboard to this. I am going to throw on a color on top of that, but you can still, again, see the cardboard underneath it. I can add in a pattern on top of that, and then I'll finish it off with adding a label, right? So nice and easy package design, but the great thing about this is once you do that, I can go into this 2D view and look at that. My entire package design is done, and I was able to do it on a 3D box. Pretty cool, right? Okay, so how did I do that? First, you want to think logically about this. So I would start with just some cardboard. Now, if you're actually printing on cardboard, you won't have to worry about this, obviously, because, you know, you will get that cardboard in the natural world anyway. But just for visualization purposes, we're going to put some cardboard out there. I can go ahead and rotate this around, and I'll scale it down a little bit. All right, it's a little bit too small there. All right, here we go. All right, so we've got that on there. Great. I've got my base cardboard. It's a substance material, so I can certainly just go into all the parameters down here, change the fibers and all that good stuff. From there, I want to add a color on top of it. So I'll just make one more layer. And we'll just change this to a little bit of a, we'll go like a little bit of a darker gray. Yeah, we'll just keep it like that. Awesome. And again, I just want it to be the color because really, I really want to pick up all that texture detail on the box itself. All right, from there, what I'm going to do is I want to start putting my pattern on there. And for anyone that has watched my previous tutorial, you'll recognize this pattern. This is the sunshine one that I made from another Adobe stock logo. But I'll go ahead and just add a fill layer on top of it. Just like Photoshop, we'll add a black mask, add a little fill, and then I can just drag and drop this in here as well. So now I've got that label. I can go down and tile that up a little bit more too. Awesome. And we'll just adjust the colors a little bit. So I'll go ahead and make this, you know, we'll make this a little bit darker. Maybe give it just a, yeah, no, we'll keep it pretty monotone. Nice dark. The logos there are a little bit lighter. That's awesome. And then for adding the label on top, I can just type in, grab one of my labels. And if you're working with companies a lot, you're going to want to kind of update this or keep this handy so you can always access it. So I'm just going to add this to my base color. Awesome. It's now on top. I can scale it up, move it around, position it wherever I want. And same thing if I wanted to add like a barcode on the side of this as well. So I can just add barcode and I can just plop this right on here. And I'm actually going to use this as a mask, and I'll show you why in just a second. So I can put this up. And again, I can take this now and say, you know what, for this barcode, I can change the color of it. Like let's say I want it to be black or a bright red. But actually, you know what? Let's not even mess with the color. Let's just make it metallic and super sharp. So it's actually just a shiny thing on the side of the box there. I actually don't know if that would read or not, but for the purposes of this, we'll kind of keep that. You know what? We'll go ahead and bring the color back in and just make it a darker color too. Okay, great. So that will definitely read on the side there. Awesome. So you can add all of your components onto that. And again, all you would have to do is then you can take a look at the 2D side, and this complex pattern is already laid out for us. We can go in and we can simply export the textures that we made. And all I would need to do is just export them as a, PNG, JPEG, whatever. And the color map is exactly what I need. Now, if I was going to be sending this to printing, I would definitely take off the corrugated cardboard from there. But you can just keep that as is. So that's a fun little one there too. Okay, great. So if I wanted to send this over to Stager and make another render of this, all I would need to do is go File, Send to, and then send to Substance 3D Stager. All right, so here's our package design inside of Stager. And what we want to do is let's render this thing out a little bit differently than we did the last one. So what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to go ahead and take this, and we are going to integrate this into a backplate. And then inside of Stager, if you've never done it before, it's super easy. All you have to do is click this camera button up here at the top, Add Camera. We've got our backgrounds here. I'll just select this, say select file, and bring in my backplate. Now we have this super magic match image button up here at the top. What this one does is it does three things. It will set the aspect ratio the same as the background. It'll create lighting information that matches your background image, and it'll use AI to match the camera perspective. Now for this one, because it's an all white scene and there's a piece of wood that's kind of an oblong shape, it's not able to do that. It's not a problem at all. So what we can do is I can just click OK. I will keep my grid on there for now. And all I will have to do now is just go ahead and just position this box by tumbling my camera around into a position that kind of makes sense. So just go ahead and do that. And we go ahead and turn off our grid. And you can see the box is a little bit overlit. It's also a little bit small right now. So go ahead and make it a little bit bigger. Here we go. All right, cool. Now what I want to do is I just want to tone down this lighting a little bit. So you can go into the environment lights. You can go in here and then just bring down the intensity of some of our lights. Let's see. There we go. So I just need to bring down the intensity of that guy. All right, that looks a lot better. So the AI is great, but it's not perfect. It'll get you most of the way there. So you just need to go into the environment, adjust some of the lights, and now I've got this. This is feeling pretty good. The next step is I want to just render this out and do a couple of little cleanup things. Like right now the shadow is casting off at the side of the rock there. We want to just kind of clean that up. But lucky for us, Stager does something awesome that can really help our look. All right, I paused my video because I expected this render to take a little longer, but man, this thing took 28 seconds to render. That's like nothing. So now that I've got this rendered out, I rendered it as a PSD file, saved it in all the right locations, gave it a preset of high, awesome. Now I can bring it over here into Photoshop and we can start taking a look at how we're going to be adjusting this. Now again, because we're all Adobe and everything's awesome, this renders out in a way that's super friendly. It renders out the 3D elements separate from the background. And it also gives me some object ID mats too. So if I want to isolate certain things. But in this particular case, I just want to go ahead and go to my background image, select my object selection tool, and just grab this piece of wood. Go back into my rendered image. I'll invert that and then just grab my eraser and go boop. And that shadow is gone. Now, if I wanted to, if like I needed to move that down into the ground, I could do that, but I feel like that looks pretty good. From there, I can just go and do all my normal Photoshop stuff. Like I'll go ahead and adjust the levels on this because I feel like a little bit of darkness in there would be helpful and just kind of balancing that out. I could also take this and just do some like light wrap stuff on it. I'll select the box here. I'll go ahead and I'll just show this whole process. I'll go ahead and modify the selection by expanding it out. 10 pixels works. Copy the background. Paste that over top of my box, select my box again, go ahead and filter this or select this, modify, contract, say, we'll do an 8 pixel, yeah, that works. And then we'll go ahead and take that out. Now we've got this over top of that, and we want to connect these two layers together so they're only happening in one place. So that is, let's forget the hotkey for that, give me just a sec. Yes, so for this layer, if I want to connect these together, I just go up to Layer and say Create Clipping Mask. This will connect them together. Now all I have to do inside of here is I will just blur that filter, that layer just a little bit. Gaussian blur. Awesome. Great. And now what I can do is I can just screen that over top of the object and then just take down the opacity. This is going to be a little bit of a heavy light wrap. Oof, that's real heavy. But we'll go ahead and take down the opacity on that. I don't want it wrapping around the bottom of this here, so I'll just go ahead and take my little brush and I'll take that out. So it's just a nice little way to add a little bit of haze around the side. We'll go ahead and bump that up just a little bit more. All right, cool. Now, I'm sure you all have some even more amazing Photoshop tricks, especially if you've been working in package design for a long time and you had to do these 2D mockups inside of Photoshop. You got all the skills already necessary, so don't worry about it. All right, so that's it. If you have any questions for me, definitely throw them in the comments down below. You can also contact me on LinkedIn. I write a newsletter called The 3D Artist. You can find me there. Just reach out, let me know. I'd love to hear what you want to see next, if this was beneficial, and going forward. Hopefully all of those janky little bugs over UVs and stuff get ironed out in the near future. And a huge shout out to whoever the heck wrote Fantastic Fold. I never got a never was able to mine down and get the individual's name. I wish I could give you a shout out. If I find who you are, I will give you a big shout out in the comments down below. The software is amazing, and I really hope that you are happy somewhere because you've done a good thing. All right, everybody, be good, enjoy yourselves. I'll see you next time.